How you hanging in there, friend? It is 2 weeks now into 2025. Well, just about. And man, how are you doing? Because this is right about the time where the inspiration is maybe wearing off a little. Maybe we're not as excited as we were a few weeks ago. But you know what? You got this, okay? We can hang in there. It's gonna be good, all right? So I wanted to just come in here and talk a little bit about how to keep motivation strong and steady throughout the months ahead. Because yeah, this is where we tend to hit our limit. And whatever goals you made, or if you just simply want to keep your faith and goals aligned, this episode's for you. Okay, we all know how exciting January can be. Fresh starts, new goals, the energy to make this year your year, all that, right? But the truth is, it is really easy to lose steam, especially as life gets busy. Life is back now. Like, no one's on Christmas break. Well, a couple students are still. But I mean, how can we stay motivated in a way that's not just about willpower, but actually rooted in faith and healthy habits, right? So, 5 key ways to stay motivated in the new year, okay? And best part, each one's got scripture to back it because that's our favorite, right? Okay. So, the first step in staying motivated is remembering that you are living with a purpose. All right? This is not meaningless. Proverbs 16:3. Commit to the Lord whatever you do and he will establish your plans. All right? So when we set the goals and intentions that we did, especially if we did it together and we were kind of following that process in the last couple of episodes, we did that with prayer and by asking God, Lord, what do you want for this year? What are your plans for me? All right. So this extends past motivation because it's purpose. It's really, really driven by that. So your motivation will be deep and unshakable with this foundation because you're not just moving forward for yourself, but you're moving forward with the purpose to fulfill God's plan. Whatever he's set you up for, whatever he's created you for, that's why you're doing this. You're not doing this so that way someone else looks at you and goes, oh, wow, they're like really good at waking up at 5 a.m. every day. They're like really, really good at showing up and being good at school, or they're really, really good at being joyful at work. Like, no, that's not why we're doing this. Is not for other people. We're showing up because this is what God has called us to. This is where God has asked us to be for this day and this time. So guess what? We're going to show up and we're going to be the best versions of ourselves. And we're going to be faithful in those small habits. So we've got to start with God's purpose. That's where it all starts. And that's how we're going to stay motivated throughout this year and to lean on that. All right. Now, maybe you fell into the New Year's trap. Maybe you set some huge goals that look great on paper, but now you're sitting here and you're like, yeah, that's never going to happen. That's not even a little realistic. All you are doing, if you continue to try to look at those goals, are either going to burn out because you're going to try and you know you can't, or you're going to give up right now. So reassess. If you're feeling so overwhelmed by the goals that you set up for yourself, one of two things happened. The goals are unrealistic and you need to change them. Maybe you made some bad goals. It's just not going to happen. Maybe you said that you're going to have a six-figure business in 2025, but you need to start it in 2025. Like, listen, maybe. Not here to rain on your parade, but uh, it's not looking good. All right. It's not looking good. So, what you're going to do is doesn't mean that you can't have that business that you want to start, but maybe the goal shouldn't be six figures. So, maybe we're going to realign it and we need to make them into smaller, a little bit more achievable steps. Okay, so maybe the goal is to simply have an LLC filed and your first product sold if you haven't even started. Maybe that's our goal. Matthew 7:7 says, ask and it will be given to you, seek and you will find. So we often think, oh, okay, so I just need to dream bigger, dream bigger. Yes, you can dream big, but remember, sometimes God calls us to take small and steady steps. He is not always asking you to jump over the Grand Canyon. He's really, really not. Set goals that are stretching you, but make sure they're attainable. Realign, all right? And God's going to guide you through that. All right. So if you're already feeling burnout by your goal or stressed out by your goal, maybe need to adjust. Maybe need to adjust. All right. Number 3, consistency is key. All right. Because here's the truth, you're going to slip up sometimes. You probably already have. We're 12 days in. I doubt you're at 100% perfection. If you're, especially on like some finance goals, some health goals, all of that, like it's going to be slow and it's going to be messed up at some point. Galatians 6:9 encourages you in that, though. It says, let us not become weary in doing good, for at a proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. So even when it feels like our progress is slow, even when it feels like we've already failed, you've got to keep showing up. Small, consistent efforts will lead to lasting change, all right? That perseverance, that's what we're looking for. That faithfulness, that's what we're actually striving for here. We're not striving for your perfection because guess what? You've already failed. You are not going to be perfect this year in whatever habit you set up. So be consistent. Be a person that is dependable in this. And don't miss out 2 days in a row. So if you mess up one day and you don't have your quiet time, if you don't show up for yourself one day in whatever habit you're reaching for, have grace, but then show up the next day. Be there the next day. Don't be inconsistent 2 days in a row. All right. Next, accountability is the game changer. It really, 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 really is. Okay. Ecclesiastes 4:9-10 says, 2 are better than 1. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. All right. So whether it's a friend, whether it's a mentor, or whether it's a group of people like the Inspired Lady podcast has, you've got to find people who will support you and keep you motivated. You can share your goals together, you can pray together and cheer each other on through the highs and lows because it is so much easier to fail when you keep everything to yourself. When you are only working with your thoughts and your motivation, it will fail. So a way to keep the motivation through the new year and the coming months is to invite other people alongside of you. I especially see this true with runners. Now, not a runner, however, friends with many of them. I can't tell you how many times I have seen the difference between people who ask other people to go running with them versus people who are just going to train by themselves. There is such a massive difference when you don't have to rely on simply yourself. This happened to me when I was in college. I really wanted to be consistent working out, and it wasn't until I had an accountability partner with me who was doing the workouts with me that I was consistent. Because when I was just showing up for myself, I was too easy on myself. I had too much grace, and I allowed myself to be inconsistent. So if you feel like you're already starting to slip up and you're already starting to be inconsistent, you got to pull someone in and have them be accountable with you. Preferably someone who is working on a similar goal. Preferably someone that you can also champion. Someone that you can pull alongside and say, hey, you know what? You deserve better than this. You deserve to be faithful in this. All right. Number 5, actually recap. Number 1, you're going to remember your purpose is God-given. Number 2, you're going to set realistic goals. And even if you have to realign a little bit, you're going to make sure your goals are realistic. Number 3, you're consistent, not perfect. Consistent, not perfect. Number 4, you're surrounding yourself with that supportive community. And number 5, okay, last one. Motivation grows when you celebrate wins along the way, no matter how small they are, no matter how small your wins are. God does not measure success the way that the world often does. He rejoices in your heart's desire to live abundantly and to walk in your purpose, to worship Him and to glorify Him. So your wins don't even have to be worldly wins. You don't have to wait until you lost 35 pounds, until you've published a book, until you've married the perfect guy, until you have the perfect children. Because guess what? That's maybe not in the cards. You don't have to show up and celebrate worldly wins alone. You get to celebrate your progression. You get to celebrate your faithful steps. You get to celebrate your glorification of God. So really take time to reflect on the progress you've made. You've got 12 days. Have you made progress? Even if it's not where you thought you'd be, even if you thought that you were going to be at 100% consistency in all of your habits and all of your routines, You got to celebrate those little victories and thank God for what He's already doing in your life. It's like a gratitude practice because when we focus so much on where we're failing and we refuse to have grace with ourselves, but yet we continue in this spiral of inconsistency, that's never going to work. We're never going to be able to accomplish that. So we have to celebrate that progress, not perfection. So those are my 5 tips for staying motivated this year. Start with God's purpose, make sure your goals are realistic, be consistent, surround yourself with community, and celebrate your progress. I truly believe that if we keep these principles in mind, we're not only going to stay motivated, but we're going to see lasting, abundant growth in our life. All right? So if you're feeling overwhelmed by this, don't worry. Don't worry, okay? God is with you with every step of the way. And remember, motivation, it's a journey. It's not a destination. You're not going to one day wake up and be the most motivated person in the world and never lose motivation. But He's in the process with you. He's got big things ahead of you for the year. So keep the faith, stay focused, and trust His timing. You've got this. And if you need an even bigger boost of motivation, DM me, let me know. Let's have a conversation. Let me encourage you. Let me love you. And yeah, we got this, okay?